in virtual reality, and we're creating all these worlds that are farther and farther from like real organic worlds. You know what I'm talking about?
That little workshop thing I'm doing, she talks about how,
yes, she talked a lot about that.
She also talked about how, she struggled with like realizing that like, okay, this isn't all real. Like there is an element of this being like a hologram or whatever. Like it could be like a virtual reality, but if it's real to you, then it's real.
Right.
Even if it is some sort of simulation, even if the simulation theory does hold true in lots of aspects, and a lot of things point to maybe this is a simulation, especially if you start really practicing the arts of manifestation and you start realizing how powerful your thoughts are and all this stuff. Okay, if that stuff holds true, then it is some sort of weird manipulatable situation, some simulation. Well, okay, that's fine. But at the same time, the word real, we don't even really know what we don't know what baseline is or not. And so that's where you just kind of got to go like, all right, before I get too down that rabbit hole and start, freaking out about stuff, I feel like whatever I'm experiencing right now seems real to me. So
that's true. That's the same way I feel. It's like,
you have to hold on to that for as much as you can.
And it's nice to think about it. And maybe that is true and fine, but like you're saying, you were still living this reality in this consciousness. So what's the difference?
If this is a video game and this is the level I'm in right now, it doesn't change the fact that I can't get out of this level, and this is where I'm at right now.
Right. Yeah.
I have to be a better Zelda character and figure out how to get to the next world. Sure, maybe that's the thing, but for right now, I don't know. So I got to stay in this one.
Yeah.
Complete this level first.
Right. And all these things happening at one time. Whoa, that is crazy. And multiple timelines. Wow.
Oh, the timeline thing. That's really does my head in, especially when you start thinking about the Mandela effect and how, okay, well, maybe that stuff's happening on this timeline and on other timelines.
Yes. It blows my mind is just wow. And fractals, like how, okay, I guess this goes to like, I keep seeing fractals in everything. I keep seeing everything as a fractal, like the whole inner earth thing. That's just a fractal of the, of this body, which is just a fractal of this larger universe, or I don't know. Yeah. Universe, I guess, which is just a fractal of something else, like these endless fractals. It's crazy.
Yeah. And like the fractal thing, I totally saw when I was on mushrooms. And then I also like, I sometimes, like last night, I actually had a dream, like right before I went to sleep, where, and I used to have these dreams a lot when I was little, but, things like scales of things would be, would almost make me nauseous. Like something would go so tiny to where I couldn't even conceive it to like so huge, and it would like fluctuate back and forth. And like, I mean, like I could be looking at this cup, and in my dream, it could be like down to like a dot. Like
I've had that same experience.
Oh, you have? Oh my God, that's good. Cause like I've tried to explain that to somebody before, and they've just been like, I know what you're saying. That sounds stupid.
I just was thinking about it the other day. I was like, why does that happen sometimes? And what is happening when that happens?
I don't know, but it makes me uncomfortable. Like physically, I can get a little bit nauseous with it.
It's almost like vertigo, kind of, but not quite, because you're just like, it's like Alice in Wonderland, like boom, 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 big and then small.
Yes. And then no time flat. And
yes.
For me, I feel like it always happens in that in between sleep and awake state. Like it's like I'm heading into dreamland. I'm just about to fall asleep, but I'm not quite there yet, but I'm still conscious. Like that's when I experience this thing. And yeah, I now kind of think of it as fractal land.
I didn't think of it like that. Mine happens, I suppose that use may have happened between dream state and waking state, but now it just it happens in my regular conscious reality, like during the day when I'm awake.
When I was younger, it used to happen to me during the day all the time too. Like daydreaming, I would just like kind of like start zoning out, and then like I could just envision like, and sometimes it's a feeling too. Like I could feel the expanse of things, and then I could feel
Yes.
the.
Yes, exactly. I just was thinking about that not even 2 days ago, within the last couple of days. And I was like, what exactly is happening when that happens? Like, what's happening with either dimensions or my mind, or what exactly is going on? Why does this happen and how? Yeah. And sometimes when it's happening, I try to figure out like what's happening. And I'm very aware of it when it's happening, and I kind of like watch and observe it, but then there's like no control over it. And then
Yeah,
it just,
and it doesn't last that long, but it's there.
no, yeah, it's there.
Yeah, do you like it or not? Because I never really have liked it. I wouldn't say like I hated it. It's just, but like when it comes, I'm like, I'm going to observe it while I have it, but I don't necessarily like the
That's
feeling.
that's the same. That's exactly the same feeling I have. I mean, yes, it's not like a dislike or a like. I just kind of observe it, and I just try to figure out why, and I just know it's going to end, and it's just like that's it. It's weird. It's a really weird feeling. It's not like, actually, I remember almost the first time that it happened, and it happened in my adult life. This was weird. And I kind of always go back to that experience. My friend's father had died, and I was coming back from the funeral, and I was sitting in my car. I was probably like 25 or something, and I was thinking about him. And I liked him as a person. He was a very nice man. And all of a sudden, I just saw him, and he just like floated backwards into foreverness, and just like expanded. It wasn't really like, it wasn't him. It was like the essence of him. It wasn't like I saw him, like a ghost or something. But
Mm-hmm. You like
I just
imagined him.
I imagined him, but then I thought of him, and then all of a sudden that experience happened, but it was him going back and back and back and back into earth. I mean, like into the sky, and it was just weird because I associated it with like my feeling that I had of like sadness, and like that I liked him, and like whatever that feeling was that I was having, like I associated that experience with that. So then every time I have it, I'm like I try to figure out like, is there a connection to that event or to that feeling of during that event? But that's never that hasn't it hasn't like revolved around that
So
incident.
mine started before I can remember. Like I remember it was something that like was real little. Like my earliest memories, I used to have like this weird skell thing that would go on. And then I also remember being able to kind of induce it when I was little by, I would do like this whole thing where you like press on
Close
your
eyebrows.
eyeballs
Yeah,
when you're laying in bed, and then like you start seeing like little
little dots.
stars or like kaleidoscope looking stuff, and I would squinch I played with that like whole thing a lot when I was really
Me
little.
too.
I used to love doing that. And then because I was like, I'm like seeing the stars, universal stuff. And then sometimes like that would make it
Like
come on.
trigger it.
And
Yeah.
then the first time I kind of identified it as like something is happening was I watched Fantasia, the Disney movie, and there's a part where it shows like the strings, like the vibration of what sounds like, oh, this is an oboe, and it would be like boom 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 boom, and it had like all these weird designs where things would get big and then small, like if it was loud it was expansive, and then if it was silent it went like that. And I was like, oh, that's probably the closest visualization I could get to the feeling that I feel with the
I see what
scaling
you're
going back
saying.
and forth. Right. So it was like that. So I remember when I was that. So then like, I don't remember the first time I watched Fantasia. I was like a little kid, like 5 or something. And then I remember thinking to myself, okay, so it must have something to do with sound because, or like now
Or
I'm thinking it has
vibration.
something to do with vibration and something to do with energy, like
Yeah. Like
yeah,
the waves or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the waves of things.
That makes sense. Yeah. Somehow your brain is like caught in that wave, or Yeah, I don't know, but that makes sense. Yeah, I could see that's a good analogy or connection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one time, I mean, everything that, well, first, the Joe Dispenza series that I was watching on Gaia has this, the last episode is him using a kaleidoscope. And he had like this kaleidoscope guy who had 3 generations of kaleidoscope makers in his,
Family or whatever.
yeah, in his family. And he made this kaleidoscope meditation with from this guy, and then had this music, and there are all these like he walks you through this meditation. But the thing about it was he was talking about how geometric figures or geometric shapes help to connect you to the like the other, like, you know, like quantum
Dimensions,
world.
or you're right.
Yeah, and they help you also to get like zoned in, like your brain is going to like get zoned. But I was thinking about how all of these shapes appear when like the building blocks like of universes, like all these geometric and sacred geometry shapes appear, and it relates back to this crop circle. There's definitely some kind of connection. But then that, him talking about that made me think of how I used to also do that with my eyes, because I was like, I feel like I used to see geometric shapes a lot, like when I was a kid. And the other thing I used to do when I was a kid was I had this this wallpaper on my closet, which was mostly stripes, but it also had intersecting lines. So they were like, it was almost like a plaid.
Oh, right.
It
Okay.
sounds totally ugly, but it was kind of only like medium ugly. It was fine for me at the time, but it was like purple and pink, whatever. It was like these grids. And when I woke up in the morning, like on a Saturday morning and I had time and I would just stay in bed, I would stare out at it and my eyes would go in and out of focus, and like it would come 3D at me. And so I would be like, I
Oh,
didn't
no.
know it, but I would be like putting myself into this trance and just being like playing with my eyes and shifting it. But it kind of related to this whole like geometric thing, and like you're getting your brain into this brainwave state. And I just like thought of that. So it's just weird how like kids like just naturally do those things.
Yeah, yeah. It is weird. And I used to have a lot of out of body experiences when I was young, like more than I do now, where like I like in right when I'd fall asleep, like I could literally get out of my body and like look at myself. Like I had multiple experiences where I could see my physical body as something looking at myself. And then I would like float to the edge of the ceiling of the roof or something, and then I would get like jarred back in. Um,
Wow. How old were you?
mm, mm, like however you are when you're like kindergarten, like 5, 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that's when I started remembering that. But I know I did that until I was probably like 8 or 9. I would do that a lot. And I always wanted to go further, but I would get pulled back in when I before I wanted to.
Yeah. Maybe for whatever reason, the physical ceiling was like mentally
Like a
blocking. Who
barrier.
knows?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never went past the physical ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had similar expanding experiences, but and being jarred back into my body, but never to the point where I was able to see my body. Not until as I was an adult, and then I was doing more like what's it
Intentionally
called?
true.
Yeah, exactly. And like I was able to hear vibration as I went out of my body, and I could feel like the vibration as it was going back in. Like when I was going in and out, you feel like this vibration, and I was able to hold it there, but I could never really like see it. I was able to like see my hands, but that was about it.
You know, and my left eye, then this probably started 4 or 5 years ago, but I would say often, like maybe once a day, I see like when I like I'll like all of a sudden like close my eyes and I'll look up and I see a bright blue spiral, like
Oh.
big spiral, and
Hmm.
yeah, in the bottom of my left eye, and it's been bothering me. Like I asked the optometrist about it, and like he was like, "What?" And I was
Yeah,
like,
and it doesn't. Yeah, it's not like because you're looking at your phone and like your eyes are changing.
yeah,
You
no,
know.
and it's the same, and it's always one eye, and it'll just be like, and it doesn't last long. It's just like I'll like close my eye and I'll open my eye, and there'll be like and it's not my focal point. It's not what I'm looking at. It's in the peripheral. It's in my bottom peripheral vision, and
Yeah.
it's a bright blue spiral. It's been going on for 5-6 years now.
Oh, strange.
Yeah, I don't
All
know what
these
to do about that,
phenomenons.
but yeah.
Well, I had one other no, it wasn't really an out of body experience. I think I've told you this, but one time Pedro made these like crazy brownies, like special brownies. And it was the first time of making those special brownies. So he had no idea. I had no idea. So I wound up eating it and thinking, all right, let's just chill and watch a movie. Like 5 minutes into the movie, I was like, oh shit, this is the most intense thing I'm about to experience. And sure enough, it was totally crazy. I did not know what to do with myself. So finally I was like, oh, I got to go to bed, So I finally fell asleep, but it was an out of body, or I don't even know what it was, but I could see like a tunnel. It was almost like that same experience, like a tunnel or like that thing when it was like what we were just talking about, when you go like out big and like
Yeah.
forward. And there was that. And it was like I was going through a tunnel of time, and all of a sudden I would just like it was like flipping through pages of a book. And it was like later I was like, that was probably my Akashic records that I was going through. And I was looking, and then I just saw at one point, I don't even know if it was me, but it was something just standing there like an India from India goddess or god that had like,
All
like
the
it was
arms
in
or
the
something, or what?
like all the arms going and like standing in this, like in a pose, like in a dance position or in a pose, and then like doing this dance. And then it was just like all this thing in the background that looked like it was either from India or Egypt. And then that was like the most visual that I got. But then then that stopped, and then it was like I was going through another, like going through pages of a book, and then it would like come to another image. But that was the only one that I remembered. It was crazy. That was,
Wow, so you
and
saw a lot of visuals, but that's the only one that you stuck with you.
that was the only one that stuck with me. Yeah. And that the fact that I was going through like time, it was like I was going through all of this time period.
Well, it is
like,
interesting that like, special brown or marijuana does mess with your sense of time in general.
That's true. That's true. That's true.
It's true. But I mean, like,
Right.
I did some ones that were pretty heavy, some pretty special cookies in Hawaii, and it was like, I didn't get visuals, but it would be like, I'm not a big fan in general of all that, of marijuana, just because I don't like the messing with my time that much. But the thing is like, if I move my hand like this,
Yes.
like I could feel my energy body move like a delay. It was
right.
Like anytime I was moving, I could feel, so it felt like I was on a psychedelic, but with no visuals. So it was just like, like I felt like my energy body and my physical body were no longer in sync. They weren't connected. So like I could feel like just everything felt weird and slow, and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna fall out of my body if I don't watch it.
I think that's one of the gifts of it. It's like it's a totally different perception, but it could get pretty intense. But yeah, the time thing, and just like that feeling of being of slow motion, of like something, having done something and then being like, whoa, that I haven't had that experience in so long. Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I should do that, have that experience again. Anyway, no, I just figure, I mean, I think that it's definitely a medicinal plant. It's an herb for medicine. But
yeah, I think it's just abused a lot for a lot of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I think. That's like pretty much it. I think it's abused and overused, but like the essence of her is, just like her gift to the world,
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's like a thing that you should have, it's like mushrooms. You can't take mushrooms all the time. Like, I think those are it should be special occasions stuff.
Right. Yeah, with intention.
With intention, like that's the thing. But whatever, teach their own. They can all do whatever they want to do. I don't care.
Right, exactly. People, they're just experimenting too.